principals that were on the task force replied with, yes, we will work with our students to ensure that we're either mailing to the addresses or some cases even delivering those items directly to the families. In addition to the graduation, we also have cap and gown pickup that had to be arranged or has to be arranged by school. And so just to note that all of the schools' cap and gowns will be distributed by May 29th. They're working directly with the vendors with that and scheduling a drive-through option for students to come and pick up their cap and gowns from the schools. An additional note is that all May ceremonies, and this came directly from our early and middle college representatives who were on the task force, that those May ceremonies be moved to June so that they would have the same amount of planning time and such as all of the other high schools. And so those will be postponed until June. It says here June 8th, but a couple will be toward the end of the graduation schedule. So those dates have been sent up. And although we are going through planning for the graduation celebration, we didn't want it missed that there are other ways to celebrate our seniors and make it a huge, big event that is festive, school-based, and maybe even citywide. So a number of our schools have already planned virtual senior weeks. We're looking at hosting, hopefully, celebrity shout outs for our seniors, definitely Val-Sal recognitions, and there are a host of other things that our schools are planning in order to celebrate class of 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Radley. I wanted to, before I talk about the survey results, I wanted to emphasize once again some information that Dr. Radley shared as part of the celebratory drive-through. I want to emphasize that this is our starting point. This is not where we will end. We will continue to work with our principals and our student leaders to make this as a personable and memorable event as possible. So these are ideas in the early stages, but I just felt a need to emphasize that this is what we have right now, but this is not what we'll end with. Next slide. As it relates to the survey results, we had roughly 5,000 responses, and that equates to about half of our senior class. And so I want to thank our seniors for taking the time to participate in the survey and provide your feedback as part of this process. So as you heard earlier, there were 3 options that seniors could choose. Option A, which was the virtual ceremony with a celebratory drive-through, received just under 39% of the senior vote, which means that it came in second in terms of the 3 options. Option B, which is the virtual ceremony with the diplomas being mailed to students, came in third with just over 15% of the senior vote. And then option C, which was the more popular selection, received just under 46% of the vote. And option C includes a virtual ceremony, diplomas being mailed, and also an opportunity for future celebrations for our seniors. And so taking the feedback from the survey, staff came up with an option D. And so that recommendation is to combine both option A with option C. So the drive-through celebration include a future celebration. And as you note, all 3 of the options include a virtual component. So again, just to recap, option D, the newly created option, which reflects both options A and C, will also include a virtual component. And so the future celebration would be planned and organized by the schools and occurred during the fall of the 2020-2021 school year, pending the COVID-19 restrictions. So if restrictions remain in place, later dates can actually be considered. Next slide. And so what I would like to say, and I want to speak directly to our seniors just for a moment. I want to let our seniors know that we, all of us in Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, are so extremely proud of you. And make no mistake, none of this is easy. I know it's not easy being a student, particularly a senior during this pandemic. And it's not easy making hard decisions. There are no right answers and no easy choices. But I want you and your families to know that our task force and its members worked very hard to come up with options that would keep you safe, but that would also allow for a memorable and celebratory occasion. And so I wanted to share that and then close out by just saying that option D, which merges options A and C, is the option that we have chosen. And at this time, we'll be happy to take any questions that board members may have.
So board members, if you could show me by raising your hand if you have a question or a comment. I see Ms. Cheek and then I see Ms. Marshall.
Ms. Cheek first.
I'd rather you go first. I need to compose a bit.
Okay. I think that any of us that have worked or have sat on that stage and watched graduation, it hurts so much to not be able to sit there and watch this again. And it's not that people aren't trying, and it's not that people aren't being creative, because we're trying to figure out ways that work and frankly make this really memorable. And this really could be very memorable. So I want to say that the option D that gives us the ability to do some personalization and get you on campus to get your diploma, and then have a more fun, real in-person celebration later on in the year. I do think combine the best of what we can do right now. So I just really, it's just hard. We're grieving this situation, and that's all we can say. But trying to make the best of it. I last weekend watched my daughter get her master's online too. So I understand and I feel this. I feel this from a parent perspective as well as from a board member who just adores our seniors and wants to really celebrate them. So I appreciate all the work we've done here. And there are a zillion ways to do this. And I know that each district in the state is wrestling hard with this right now. I've seen folks in the West, folks in the East, districts north and south of us. Everyone is thinking really hard on how we do that in our communities. And there are no easy answers, and people are going to be sad, and we're all sad, but we're going to be happy and celebrate this incredible class. And we know that great things are ahead. So we'll leave with, I will leave with that.
Ms. Cheek, if you still need a minute, I have a couple of clarifying questions, but you have the floor.
That would be great.
Okay. I've seen a lot of, this is for either Dr. Hayes or Dr. Ratley. We've had a lot of people bringing up Concord Motor Speedway or Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, as, asking why we can't do what Cabarrus County is doing with, I think they're doing a drive-through at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Other people have brought up Bank of America Stadium. Can you speak to why those options were, why those were not options?
I'll take a first stab at that. I will tell you that first of all, for Bank of America Stadium, we did have look at some various aspects of that around safety, being able to utilize facilities and so forth, and reflecting back on the criteria that was set forward by the state. We were not able to secure that those safety measures in place if we would have used that venue and many other venues that were recommended in and around Charlotte and so forth. Also want to lift up and think it's a phenomenal opportunity for our partners in education in Cabarrus County. I will tell you that they're graduating about 10 schools with about 2,500 students total, with graduating classes of probably averaging between 150 and 250 students. As Dr. Ratley shared with you earlier, when you take in consideration that we have our smallest groups around 400 and our largest is close to 8, the sheer volume of moving students through those venues with a time period that would be needed, and also provide the safety measures that would need to be in place for that length of time, we were not able to secure that.
So Charlotte Motor Speedway, they were doing a drive-through, right? That was not people sitting in the stands. That was just cars, people staying in their cars with the drive-through.
Yes, ma'am, that is my understanding of that.
Okay. And my understanding is with the public health requirements right now, we're limited to gatherings of no more than 10. And we do expect to move to gatherings of no more than 50. And then we'll be staying at that no more than 50 for a good long while, is my understanding. And so the recommendation here is the combination of the drive-through and a celebration later when it is safe to get everybody together.
That is correct. Yes, ma'am. And just to be clear, is just also so everyone knows is that because you're going to look at those times and say, well, the staging, how does the staging change when you have those schools on a campus, and how do you not? Well, our principals know their campuses. They know their entry and exit points of those campuses. We believe that we can potentially have 2 variations of receiving lines. We also know that we may have to, we're going to have to only provide opportunities at a set number of cars at one time. And so therefore these graduations celebrations may have to go over a couple of days. But the main thing here is to make sure that everyone has the same experience and that it's an equitable experience from one of our high schools to one of our other high schools. And as Superintendent Winston said, what we've really shared tonight is a shell of what we plan on doing. We need to sit down and we're going to start talking with our principals now that we know this is the direction we need to go. We're going to ask our principals to talk to their staffs, talk to their students. Let's really make sure that we're creating this as an opportunity to memorialize this experience for our students, make it personable for their school, while at the same time making sure that all of our students across the district have a high level experience through this celebration of graduation.
All right, more questions? Ms. Byers-Bailey?
It's not a question so much as just sharing the perspective of a grandma. I have 3 grandchildren that are graduating this year, 1 from college and 2 from high school. The one in college is totally virtual. I didn't even leave town. I was in Alabama, didn't get to go there. And each one of them was supposed to be 2 weeks apart. So I had planned to go to all 3. But the Alabama college is totally virtual. The one in Virginia is a smaller school, smaller county, but they limited it to 4 family members and no out of state. So I couldn't go to that one. So I've experiencing the pain that the students are having as well as the families. And all things considered, at least I can get to drive through in a car, which I can't even do at the other 2. So.
Ms. Schiff, did I see your hand? You're muted.
Yes. And I'm kind of thinking about what Ms. Byers-Bailey said. My nephew is the last. He's a senior at West Charlotte High School. And we were so excited because he is the last of all of our family to graduate. And it's been an effort for all of us to support my sister to get him through his senior year. So this was a big year for us to have the last of all of the siblings' children to go through their senior year. So yeah, my heart is there too. Really was looking forward to it, but I understand. And I think more than anything is making sure that, like you have said, Dr. Hayes, is that every school feels like they are being celebrated and celebrated well, so that we do things consistently for all of them. You would not want to see one high school doing all this fanfare and another one not. So I think that's very important. And also, like you said, looking at their campuses, because West Charlotte campus, in terms of how they would drive through, would probably be very different than another high school, because I'm very familiar with that. So I think that that's what's important. And then I have a niece in Washington, D.C., you all, that is to graduate. And I was scheduled to go there for her graduation. Of course, they stopped early on saying that school would be closed to June. So I feel that pain in my family as well. But, and I do know what it's like to have those graduations, and have experienced them. So, but again, I know we're doing all that we can do, I believe, and we'll continue to just make sure that it's celebratory. And guess what? There's no other class that will experience the vision of 2020. Thank you.
Mr. Schul, I see your hand, and I'd like to point out that Gabe has had a long day as our student representative. He took an AP test earlier today, so kudos to you for showing up tonight, Gabe, but I'd love to hear your perspective.
I just wanted to say that I know a lot of seniors are justifiably pretty concerned about their graduation ceremonies. And it's a tough time for everyone. And certainly our graduations this year will not be the same as they will be in person. And there's no point in sugarcoating that. But I think that the fact that we had a task force, which was first representative of everyone from CMS and representative of all the groups in CMS, when we're talking about parents, staff, and students. So I think it's really well put together, and we have a lot of the representation there. I think a lot of the concerns that a lot of people have are about, well, why couldn't we do something in person? The fact is that if we can stop one person from being endangered or one person from losing a life, then that will take priority over our celebration. And that just seems to be a pretty logical conclusion that I think we should all be able to agree on. And for those places that are doing in-person celebrations, they're not of comparable size to what CMS is. So I think that at the end of the day, this is the best possible decision that could come out of this. And I still think that there's a place that we can celebrate our seniors and we can make the best that we can in an unprecedented time.
Thank you. Ms. Cheek, we have a Huff senior mama here.
I've been getting little texts from friends that say, hang in there, mama, don't cry. I appreciate, Ernest, you speaking to the seniors. I'm going to speak a bit to the parents because this event is pretty important to them as well. We've never experienced anything like this. I've been on the board for 10 years. I've been blessed to hand my two oldest children their diplomas. Somehow I'm handing my son his diploma this year, maybe in the yard, and somehow we're going to get that picture that I've had with the other two. And I know, Ms. Dashiell, I think you were able to do the same. It's a very special moment. It's a privilege of being on this board. What we're going to do is as much as we possibly can. My heart has broken. Dr. Hayes will verify that I cried to him on the phone today, as well as so did Ms. Marshall and Ms. Dashiell know that I have cried many tears about the fact that we are not able to do what we've always done. And that the county to the north of me, they're doing it, but they're doing theirs later with much smaller amount of kids in Iredell. I know that South Carolina, gracious sakes, you can go get your nails done there tomorrow. So we're not where they are. We can't compare ourselves to South Carolina. We're Charlotte-Mecklenburg. We have 10,000 students. We have 100,000 people that usually go and cheer on these kids. So I trust Dr. Hayes and Condra Ratley will guide our high school principals and staff to put on the most amazing drive-through diploma pickup celebrations that are possible. We are encouraging any vendors out there that have noisemakers and those little flippy balloon things and all that kind of stuff to jump in and help us celebrate these kids by donating stuff. I'm sure Dr. Hayes and Condra will take all those, anything that we can get to help make this more memorable. There will never be another one like it. I pray, Gabe, next year when you graduate, we are just lining up at the auditoriums and doing it the old school way. So this class is going to have something that nobody has had. They walked out of school on March 13th, a Friday the 13th, no less, and didn't realize that they would never again be together as a class. And no matter what we do, no matter how we do it virtually, no matter how we manage drive-throughs and with the celebration that we're going to have later, everyone's not going to be able to come back together again for various reasons. So I ask everybody in this community to rally around these kids and pray for us mamas. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you to the task force for your hard work. Seniors, we love you. We wish we were not in this situation, but we will put together the best streaming celebration that we possibly can for you to record and hang on to forever, for your family around the country or maybe even around the world to cheer you on. And when your name comes across the screen, everyone can scream and yell and cheer as loudly as they want, as opposed to when we're at a stadium and we're asking everyone to hold their applause. And then we will do a very special drive-through celebration where your principals cannot wait to celebrate you. And then when things settle down, which eventually we will get through this pandemic, then we will do an in-person celebration, for the students that are still in town, recognizing that some students are moving away to college and to the military. But for those of you who can still be in town, we're going to give you the best of every possible world that we can pull together for you. And with that, I think we will now move to requests from the public. With requests from the public, the rules are as follows. Each speaker will be called in to speak one at a time. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to address the board. A group will have a combined time of 7 minutes. Each speaker may speak on any topic of their choice except for individual student matters or specific personnel matters. Personal attacks will not be allowed. Profanity or other inappropriate language will not be allowed. And the board reserves the right to cut off any speaker who violates these rules. And I just want to reiterate, I pointed this out the last time that we had a public hearing on Zoom, but even though we are meeting remotely right now due to the pandemic and we are not in the chambers of the government center, it is still just as important as ever to bring the voice of the public, of our students and our parents and our constituents and our teachers into our meetings. In fact, it's probably more important than ever. So we have several speakers who have taken the opportunity this evening to join us for the first time via Zoom. I want to thank you all in advance for being pioneers with us. And please, to the public, just bear with us all in case we have technical difficulties. And with that, please allow, if you would please allow the first 3 speakers onto the screen. That would be April Straight, Kim Jones, and I hope I pronounced this right, Tayo Fasan.
Yes. Hello. Am I supposed to speak right now?
Yeah, one second.
Okay.
Okay, yes, Ms. Straight, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to join you all. The safety, of course, is at the forefront. I am a parent of a senior, and getting the news Sunday was very disappointing, devastating, and heartbreaking. Just thinking about the social aspect, his needs, and how he is just unmotivated right now. And so when we looked at the options, we were just really floored, to be honest. And I appreciate the options that were given, but I just really need a little more clarification on the drive-through that you all talked about today. Is that going to be after the virtual? Do we know kind of when that's going to be?
So in this format, we don't really have a back and forth, but we can follow up with that clarification.
Okay, and then another thing I wanted to the group to think about is we're going to pick up the cap and gowns from the schools. And so they're doing a drive-through celebratory type event there. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the difference doing that this week versus having some type of graduation celebration in that same format. I just wanted a little more clarification on that. And as we're going to pick up the cap and gowns, you know, unfortunately, I guess he's going to have to wait to wear those. So I just wanted a little more clarification on the difference between picking up the cap and gowns this week in a celebratory style versus not having the drive-through option in a celebratory style. To me, that's kind of very similar there. And the last point I just want to think about is that, you know, we have some students that are not going to college, whatever the reason is. And I think we really, really need to make sure that whatever decision is made, that these students can wear their cap and gowns and feel like that they have graduated from high school. And that's just from a concerned parent of a senior.
All right, thank you very much. And just to reiterate, in this format, it's a little different. It feels a little different because we're all online, but this is not, we will hear you out, but we don't really have the opportunity to respond during
Absolutely.
public comment. Okay, so Ms. Jones? And you're muted, Ms. Jones.
I just unmuted myself. Good evening, everyone. I sat and I listened, and I understand the importance of COVID-19, having lost 4 people through, you know, this whole pandemic. I'm from New Jersey, but I'm just not sure that a lot of thought was put in place when we talk about the ability to celebrate your child and their accomplishments. Nia's my last daughter. I'm graduating from East Mac, and the experiences that she's had through high school have been wonderful, as was my son's. I think as a parent, you want them to have all of the opportunity. And while we say that we're trying to make this as personable, the ideas presented just don't seem very personable. I've cried with her. I'm still crying. I'm still very emotional behind all of this. I just ask that any celebrations that you try to do, that you really take into principles consideration. Parents are willing to do whatever they have to. My husband and I would move mountains for other people's children as well as our own. To try to do something, the latter part, when these kids, you know, my daughter will be at Winston-Salem State, and to miss out on something like that, you know, her classmates getting together to do something at a latter part that she won't probably be able to participate because she's away at college. I think whatever is decided, it still needs to be precious for all of our students. I mean, I'm sitting here saying, you know, oh, you know, they made history, they're doing this, they're doing that. They're missing out. And while in 4 years she'll have an opportunity like her brothers to cross the high school, high school is the big one for them because they need to go to school for these 12 years. I really want some more thought to be put into it before we just close that chapter and say, virtual, this is it.
Okay, you know? Thank you, Ms. Jones. That's 2 minutes. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fasson.
Thank you for letting me speak. First, I believe it is disingenuous to believe that seniors want to put people in danger when we are raising our concerns. One of my family members became ill with COVID-19. This class knows that we are experiencing a once-in-a-lifetime public health crisis. Understanding this, we need creative solutions to mitigate the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of this crisis, I've lost all the traditional markers of the end of my high school experience. Senior prom, a traditional graduation, and others I've been dreaming about since I was 14 years old. I am not unique in this experience. My fellow seniors, 10,000 strong, have also lost these things as well. So it is not surprising that many seniors are extremely disheartened at the school district's choices for an alternative solution to our graduation. Our dissatisfaction has led to a petition created by Mara Crenshaw from Vance High with over 4,600 signatures calling for a more creative solution for our graduation. The class of 2020 feels ignored by the lack of creativity the school district has shown in these choices. We're not asking for in-person graduations. We're asking for more because we know there's a capacity to do more. Of the 31 schools we attend, we're expected to deal with challenging schoolwork that allows us to grow into intelligent citizens. We expect the school district to hold themselves to the high standards that they've set in order to earn a CMS diploma and come up with better solutions than a video for one of the most important moments of our life. The class of 2020 calls upon you to think bigger, to make this graduation match the great potential of this class and reflect the accolades we've earned over these past 4 years. For some, high school is the only major celebration of the academic career that they will ever receive. After 13 years of hard work, the resilient class of 2020 deserves a better celebration.
Thank you, Ms. Fasson. So we have a total of 16 speakers tonight. I will call in the next 3. The next one will be Latasha Earl, followed by Sherman Hudson and Kamisha Ebron.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think while the next 2 speakers are coming in, you can go ahead and start, Ms. Earl.
So yes, I do want to thank the board for allowing us parents to speak. I am a parent of a senior, and it was just some things that I wanted to address or had questions and maybe can provide some clarification after everyone speaks. So my concern and question is about the virtual option. So I want to talk about the survey. So first of all, not all seniors received the survey because my son did not receive the survey and did not have the opportunity to provide his input, along with about 20 others of his peers. So a lot of the seniors did not receive the survey and didn't have the opportunity to complete the survey. My second point is, it's just to piggyback off of what the senior just said about offering a more creative way for seniors to celebrate their graduation. I understand about the driving through and picking up the diplomas, but why couldn't that be their actual graduation versus having a virtual graduation? And then my third point is, for those pictures that's supposed to be displayed as their names are called, are these pictures are going to be uniform? Because some seniors didn't have the opportunity to take their senior portraits, and then we have to consider those seniors that may have transferred in to other schools that may not have these pictures available to be displayed. So how would that look as far as a virtual graduation? And as a senior, this is my oldest and first child graduating, and all my dad wanted was to see his grandson cross that stage. Unfortunately, my dad passed away 3 years ago, and he's not able to do that. So by us not having an actual walking across the stage, this has really been an emotional distress on my son, because he wants to fulfill that purpose that his granddad left for him, is walking across the stage. And now we're at the point of a virtual graduation. I had a lot of other points to say, but it appears that the decision has already been made regarding on what the graduation will look like. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Earl, and we'll follow up after this with clarification to your questions. Ms. Hudson?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherman Hudson. I am also the parent of a senior of the class of 2020. Like many other parents, this is my last child to graduate through CMS. And I've had a parent of 4 sons. So I feel Ms. Cheek as she got emotional, and I'm trying not to get there now, but it is a very emotional time for us. I'll start out by speaking on behalf of my son. He wanted to speak for himself, but unfortunately he's unavailable, he's at work. But his message that he wanted me to share with you all is, all I wanted to do was walk across the stage with my friends and my teachers to celebrate this milestone that I worked so hard for and obtain my diploma. So why is CMS taking this away from us and making this so hard? And do they really care about us? I won't repeat a lot of the points that have been made because they are very similar to what I was going to share as well. I will say I do think there's an opportunity for some greater celebrations that could be created. As I talked about, some of my emails that I've sent about some of the other neighboring counties that are doing other things. We talked about the Speedway and some of the other things. This just needs to be great. They came in at a time of 9/11. They're leaving out of a time of a pandemic. It has to be great. Like, it cannot be minuscule. It cannot be minor. It has to be great, because it's something that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives, and something of memory that they have to hold on to and share with their future families as well. I will say, just like Miss Earl, my son also did not receive the survey. But for me, a survey gives options. And at this time, the survey didn't give options. The decision was already made. And the only option available was how I will receive my diploma. So I do think the survey, honestly, in my opinion, was kind of pointless. And so what I will say is that with CMS being the biggest county, the biggest school system, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about these students. We should do better, we can be better, and we need to do better.
Thank you. So Ms. Ebron?
How's everybody doing? First of all, I would like to I appreciate everything, the efforts that you all have done so far. But I would say or suggest to dig a little deeper. Dig deeper for the sake of the seniors, because there's a lot of seniors, and again, I don't want to repeat some of the things that the other parents have said, but I too am a parent of the last child to graduate who won't get to experience all the other things that his siblings have experienced. But what about those youths who look forward to graduating that may have lost a parent or wanted to prove a point when somebody said that they were not good enough to graduate or they were not going to graduate, and because of the COVID-19 they really won't get to experience that opportunity. This is an opportunity that will never be able to be given back to them again. So I suggest that you just dig deep within your hearts with the seniors, because there's some seniors that, again, they've been isolated, they haven't been around their friends, and they didn't get to go to prom. They look forward to all of those things. They work for these things. They did all the great things that the parents encouraged them to do, and they still won't get to experience, the opportunity. So again, I hate to repeat myself, but I'm just begging each and every one of you all to just dig deep with your creativity, to make something a little bit more personal for them to experience. They can't do it the traditional way, but just to get a more experience that they can remember, because some of the kids won't be able to come back because they'll move on and go to college. So that option D won't be, they won't be able to do those things. So again, like they said with the virtual drive-through, allow them to, just dig deeper. I plead that you dig deeper on behalf of those seniors.
Okay, thank you. So next we will have Ms. Melissa Jones, followed by Tanya Mora, and then Gail Houghton. Ms. Jones.
Guys, I would just want to first say thank you, because I know this was not easy. It's not easy for me as well. And like Ms. Hudson and Ms. Earl, my son didn't receive that survey. So now it questions, are these really real surveys? Did the surveys go out to all students? But I want to go back to what Dr. Hayes broke down the survey as far as in the number of kids and the number of hours. I've attended several graduations that did not last 7 hours. So it's very questionable. My stepson graduated last year from Hopewell, and we were in UNCC Arena for 58 minutes to be exact. And like the superintendent, he mentioned that this is his first graduation, so he's a little bittersweet too. And we understand that, sir. It's your first, but it's not your last. This is these kids' first and last. They won't have this moment again. I do feel like the district didn't think, they didn't dig, they didn't take the time to come up with other options. It seems like you guys came in with your options and minds made up. You know, it just hurts us. It hurts us that the district could shut our kids off, but during this pandemic, they leave the ABC store open. We got to do better. We have to do better, like Ms. Hudson said. That's all I have to say. I do need you guys to dig deeper, though. Dig deeper and give more thought. This doesn't look like thought was given. Not at all. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have Tanya Mora?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So then we will move to Ms. Houghton, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
That's okay. You can have an accent with it too. It's Porton.
Porton.
So thank you for letting me speak tonight. Again, my topic is graduation. While I'm sure many parents and students appreciate the efforts that CMS Task Force has offered, this situation is not simply a case of one size fits all. I believe all students deserve a positive conclusion to their academic journey, even during these unprecedented times. A sense of closure is important for both students and families. Students and parents have shown an amazing amount of flexibility in their approach to online learning, yet there appears to be little flexibility in the plans put forward for our students to celebrate this important milestone. Due to the differences in size of graduating classes across our CMS family, I believe the schools are best positioned to decide what works for their students. The question I pose to CMS is, why can you not publish a criteria that meets all current health and safety guidelines, but allow the schools to decide what works for their class of graduates? In order to alleviate any overloading of the superintendent's workload, the individual district representatives could be allowed to provide proxy approval or guidance on his behalf. The majority of people I've spoken to just want the chance to walk across a stage and receive diplomas in person. One example suggested was small tables on the school sports field for 3 to 4 family members, even if it's only a few classes at a time. The time doesn't matter, these students do. This seems a highly viable option in terms of number of attendees and the current social distance guidelines. Failing this, some families expressed an interest of an unofficial presentation postponed, maybe Thanksgiving or winter break. If we can have the power to change the start of next year's school calendar, why can we not do this for a once-in-a-lifetime event? Will CMS follow their own mantra, every child, every day, or will they simply add except 2020 grads? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next we have Shalisa Moultrie, followed by Tara Howard and Tashara Black. Ms. Moultrie.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you all this evening. I am also a parent of a 2020 senior from Philip O'Berry Academy of Technology, and this has definitely been a trying time. I want to first share that I feel like there's no solution that was probably easy to come to. Given the situation that we're currently in, I do understand that there are limitations, especially given the size of our district and the size of our schools. What's important to me, I think, as a parent, is that my child has the opportunity to have some sort of closure. This may seem insignificant, but I do agree with the previous parents sharing that photo op of them receiving their diploma and having the opportunity to walk across something is a momentous occasion, and it's an opportunity that parents, this is my first child graduating, look forward to that opportunity to have that. If there is a way with all of the virtual planning to include something like that, I do think that that would help to satisfy some of the concerns. Even with the drive-through, if there's an opportunity for that child to be able to get out and walk across something. I just think that there may be a little tweaking that could happen to the plans that have been put forth to make sure that we provide that opportunity, as it is certainly important to many students and families. I know a couple parents shared earlier, my child also did not receive the survey last week, so I wasn't even aware that there was a survey out. So I would just also share that one of the challenges for me personally has been that I feel like the communication with the parents hasn't been as great, and I understand that the focus is on the children, but if I don't know that something's going out to my child and I have to find out through another parent, through a child, I can't do anything with that. And so I understand that it was probably a large task, but I think it's important to also keep the parents brought in as well. I responded to the survey. I think it was too many responses had been received. So even that was not an option for us. So I thank you for your considerations and just ask that you consider that photo op opportunity for the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Tara Howard. Oh, you're muted, Ms. Howard. Ms. Howard, you're muted. There you go. Oh, now you're muted again.
You're muted.
Still muted.
Is that
There you
good?
go. You're
Okay.
good.
Thank you. I'm a parent of a senior as well at Philip O'Berry. I just wanted to make a suggestion. If the administration would be willing, if they felt comfortable wearing masks, and if graduation could be held on the football field, if we were able to sign releases that said it was okay, if we were able to do something like that where it's social distancing and some fresh air circulating. Just wanted to present another option, because I'm definitely in agreement with all the parents that have already spoke, so I don't want to repeat that, but just to be able to share my option and the option that my daughter thought was a good idea as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Black.
Okay. I'm also a parent of 2 graduating seniors from Rocky River High School. Of course, this virus is something we did not see coming. The graduation of our seniors is something students and parents have looked forward to since the first day of kindergarten. The class of 2020 has had far too many letdowns and will never have the chance to create these senior milestones ever again. My daughters will never get to experience senior prom. They will never and may never get to experience walking across the stage, getting their high school diplomas, while their family and peers cheer them on in excitement. The petition started by Maura Crenshaw says differently from what the survey says. She has gotten over 4,800 signatures on that petition. I understand the guidelines set by the state, but I know there can be better options than those presented. We do have a stadium of our own in Charlotte. We have large football fields at each individual school where social distancing can happen with limited guests per seniors. Maybe not next month, but possibly July, August, or in the future. It takes a board and superintendent that is truly concerned and want the best for each senior to make this happen. The same effort put forth for them to continue doing work remotely is the same effort that can be put forth to make a traditional graduation happen for these seniors. North Carolina is opening in phases, so I refuse this memorable opportunity for our seniors. With so many disappointments already this year, just please allow and take into consideration this one positive experience that they will carry with them forever. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Black. So next up we have Nora Stocks, followed by Debbie Kirsch, and then Ashley Adam. Ms. Stocks.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I also want to thank you for the time that you have invested. I do appreciate everything that you have done. However, I do ask that you go and expand a little bit more on the option D that was created out of the 3 options that were sent out to the students. My student at David Butler High School did in fact receive the survey. He advised me of the 3 options, and just frankly, I thought they were a little bit on the limited side, let's just say. So I would ask that you go back and you expand a little bit upon what you've already worked on, because as the parents before me have spoken, there are manners in which you can conduct a more robust experience or have a more robust experience for these students now. Many of the students will go away. My student is one. He will be in Alabama. The school system there, the college system there, their scheduling may be a bit different than here in North Carolina. Therefore, he may not have the opportunity to participate in any celebratory events that are hosted for them at a different time during the year. Again, I thank you very much for all that you have done. However, I do ask that you go back and reconsider and expand a bit upon your option D. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Ms. Stocks. Next, we have Ashley Adam, if she is with us. Is Ms. Adams in the house? And if not, the next person would be Gianna Sidler. Are they, do we know Mr. Root or Ms. Kelly if they're with us? Oh, there's Ms. Sidler. Okay, Ms. Sidler, you're up.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
My name is Gianna Sidler. I'm a senior at Audrey Kell. And while I've been watching this for the past, I think, hour, I'm not sure, we actually got an email from the superintendent talking about that the plan for graduation has already been determined. So I'm honestly just unsure as to why we're having this meeting. I understand that you need recommendations for things to celebrate seniors. However, if the decision that we're not having graduation was already made, what was the point of having us here and wasting an hour of all of our time just sitting here dangling the idea of a graduation in front of our face and letting us down? And the fact that you call it a virtual graduation is actually not true, because virtual means you can connect. This is a virtual call we're having right now. What you're giving us is a video. I could look up a video of a graduation on my phone and do the same thing. And honestly, it's disrespectful to the 13 years of hard work that all seniors have given. And it's just sad to be a part of this school community right now. It's embarrassing, honestly. And I'm not proud to be part of CMS right now at all. But that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Sidler. And Ms. Adam.
Good evening to the school board, school district. I appreciate everything that you guys have done for us, but I want to give a student's perspective on everything. I've been attending CMS all 13 years of my life, so kindergarten through 12th grade. I've stood on the bus stop for hours with these kids that I've grown up with since kindergarten through 12th grade and just waited for the bus with them. Being able to graduate this year would have been the top moments of my life. My prom actually would have been this weekend. Looking at the survey made me very angry because we were only given 3 options, and all the 3 options will remain the same as a virtual graduation, which made me very angry. I've talked to my classmates who I've grown up with since kindergarten. They felt like the survey was a slap to the face, actually, and it made me very angry. The majority of seniors that we have right now in CMS are working through this pandemic, whether it's at grocery stores or different places. They're working through this pandemic. We understand that you guys are trying to come up with a solution for us, but the solutions that are presented to us were not actual solutions that made us happy. I've never felt so unmotivated to take a survey. This was literally a slap in the face as a personal senior. I attend Rocky River and I'm part of the Student Governments Association. And I've missed out on milestones, which is senior gatherings, senior trips, and senior prom. This is just this makes me very angry because I feel like the task force could have been more creative when coming up with graduations. A virtual graduation is not operable for us because we're literally sitting through a video to hear our name be called out for about 2 seconds and probably a picture. That is nothing compared to an actual graduation. So I please call on the board or the task force to come up with more solutions, because as a student who's been attending CMS for 13 years, basically my whole school life, this is literally a slap in the face to us. Thank you.
Thank you. And it looks like we have Ms. Kirsch with us now. Ms. Kirsch?
Yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you could see me. I just want to thank you, the CMS Board of Education, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the class of 2020's graduation. And I apologize, like Rhonda, I may. I'm here to ask you to consider holding in-person graduations. On April 18th, 1,000 Air Force cadets graduated sitting 8 feet apart. There were no families present. However, the graduates had the opportunity to come together to celebrate their accomplishments. On June 13th, West Point graduates will come together to celebrate their graduation in the same manner. In addition to these two military institutions less than 20 minutes from Charlotte, Fort Mill High School and Nations Ford High School are holding graduate-only graduations in their football stadiums on June 4th and June 5th. Lancaster County School District, which is less than 5 miles from the CMS boundary, will be holding graduation at 10 a.m. the week of May 26th at each of the 4 high schools. Each graduate will receive 2 tickets to the graduation. The graduate and 2 guests will be asked to sit together. Temperatures will be taken and face masks are recommended. In addition to these, I just want to point out some possible locations would be football stadiums. The Charlotte Knight Stadium holds 10,000 people. The Jerry Richardson Stadium holds 15,000 people. And the reason I say these numbers is not because I would expect 10,000 people to be there or 15,000 people to be there, but because this would really allow for social distancing. Currently, North Carolina is in phase 1 of reopening, and phase 2 early as May 23rd. Phase 2 will allow gatherings at houses of worship and entertainment venues at reduced capacity. In phase 1, religious services can be held outside. So we're moving in a direction of being able to gather in larger groups than 10, which is what we can do right now. So again, I appreciate you really, like the other speaker said, digging a little deeper, really thinking about some other opportunities for our students. Perhaps exploring the opportunity to gather in person, even if it's just for the students. And just in closing, just like a birthday, a graduation is something you should honor, but the celebration only comes a couple of times in your life. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirsch. So those are all of the speakers that are joining us via Zoom for the public comment period. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments that were sent via email? And if so, could you please read those into the record at this time? Oh, you're muted.
Excuse me. Madam Chair, we received one public comment email from Amy Jordan. The email reads as follows. My name is Amy Jordan, and I have a senior at North Mecklenburg High School. He has worked so hard not to have a graduation. This is a child that is hands-on learning student. Zachary was in the automotive program at North Meck, and this is what saved him. Zachary is not a 4-year college student. He is more hands-on. Zachary worked hard to graduate and looked forward to walking across the stage or drive across the finish line at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The options given to them was not fair ones. They were all based on the computer graduation. Zachary and his girlfriend are both seniors. They did not go to junior prom because they were going to senior prom. This was taken from them. Let graduation not be taken from them. Thank you for listening and hope the school board changes their mind of what graduation will be. Amy Jordan. Madam Chair, that concludes the public comment emails.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, this ends the public comments portion of our agenda. We will now move on to the consent items. Is there a motion that the board approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Byers-Bailey. Do we have a second?
Second.
And was that, who was that?
Margaret, second.
Okay, second by Margaret Marshall. Before we move to a vote, does any board member wish to pull any part of this item for individual consideration? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your hands and say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. Madam Clerk, our consent agenda is approved by a unanimous vote of 9-0. Okay, Mr. Superintendent, I believe that you have some personnel appointments to speak with us about.
Good evening. Thank you again, Madam Chair and board members. It is my pleasure to announce 2 personnel changes tonight. The first, and I know that momentarily, there it is, you will see on the screen the first of the 2 personnel changes. Kimberly Vaught will become the principal of Allenbrook Elementary School. For the past 5 years, Ms. Vaught has served as the proud principal of Lawrence Orr Elementary School, and she actually opened the school back in 2015, and I had the pleasure of working closely with her as part of the naming process for Lawrence Orr Elementary School. And for individuals who've never been a part of a school ribbon cutting, I will venture to say that Ms. Vaught had one of the most memorable ribbon cutting ceremonies that there ever has been in the district. Prior to Lawrence Orr, Ms. Vaught served as the proud principal of Highland Renaissance Academy, and she also served as an assistant principal at both Honeytown Farm Elementary as well as Devonshire Elementary. She has worked in the district for about 2 decades, and so I am extremely proud to announce Ms. Vaught as the next principal of Allenbrook Elementary School. Ms. Vaught, I know you are joining us virtually, and we would like to hear if there are any thoughts that you would like to share with us tonight.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much, first of all, Superintendent Winston, for the distinct honor to join you all tonight. My greetings to the board and to all of you who may be watching live, to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg community. I am certainly a very proud member of the CMS community. And once again, I'm humbled and I am honored to be able to join yet another school community and to embark upon a brand new journey and to create endless opportunities for our students. And so I'm looking forward to this new opportunity, to our new school family, and to serving oh so great, a school community in the days to come. So look for Allenbrook in the news for good reasons. We're very excited about the work, and I know that with the backing of the superintendent and the current cabinet, our executive staff, our board members, the families, and the staff at Allenbrook, that we will continue to grow. So once again, thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I count it an honor and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Principal Vaught. The second personnel change that I would like to announce this evening is that of our new Assistant Superintendent for Communications. Patrick Smith will be filling this position at the end of this month, and I am extremely excited to have Mr. Smith join the CMS family in another capacity. And I'll just touch momentarily that he is also a CMS parent. So he'll be joining us in another capacity as well. Mr. Smith has worked for national and regional agencies in global and national public relations, crisis management, and corporate support. Mr. Smith brings a rich and varied background, as well as more than 2 decades of extensive practical experience to our communications department. Mr. Smith is a native of South Carolina, and as I mentioned earlier, has a daughter in Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. We are extremely proud to welcome Mr. Smith to our communications team and to our district as a colleague. Mr. Smith is joining us as well, and would like to give him an opportunity to provide any brief remarks that he wanted to share.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I would like to thank the board. I'd like to thank the superintendent and the chief of staff for putting your trust in me. I'd like to give a special thanks to A.T. Pearson, who has made this interview process very seamless and has demonstrated a great deal of professionalism. So I could not leave that unsaid. Like Mr. Winston said, I am a CMS parent, and this role is a bit of a dream job for me. It enables me to utilize the 20 plus years of experience in a role that is going to make a difference in the community that I love. But beyond that, it's personal for me because of my background in education. My parents are both retired public school teachers, both taught for more than 30 years in South Carolina public schools. My sister is an educator, uncles and cousins and numerous friends that are in the profession. And so all of that just leads this to be a job that I will take very seriously and will look forward to contributing to the education of our students and contributing to families. I guess with all that said about my family, after more than 20 years, I'm finally joining the family business. And I couldn't be more excited, I couldn't be more proud, and I'm ready to get to work.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and welcome. Madam Chair, board members, that concludes my report regarding personnel appointments.
All right, welcome aboard, Mr. Smith. Look forward to getting to know you. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the reports portion of the agenda. First, with a update on construction of the Lansdowne Replacement School. I turn to the superintendent for this report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, again, and board members. I will momentarily turn to Dennis Lacaria, who we have engaged to help with capital planning and execution for a report on the replacement school that is planned for Lansdowne Elementary. While there is no formal action for the board to take tonight, what we are sharing is part of our commitment to full transparency, even when the news isn't necessarily something we want to share. Mr. Lacaria is going to explain why my recommendation to you will be to delay in starting and therefore delivering the replacement Lansdowne Elementary School. And so for context, I think it's important to have a bit of context. In 2013 and 2017 bond programs, only 2 other schools have been delivered, who I should say have had delivery slip because of project-specific issues. This is out of a total of 46 projects. So obviously, this report will have an impact on the planned boundary adjustment to Lansdowne and Elizabeth Lane. And that discussion will occur when Ms. Akeisha Craven-Howe shares her information shortly. And so with that, I will turn to Mr. Lacaria to provide a report on Lansdowne.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chair, members of the board. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep,
okay. Very good. So just for a little bit of background, Lansdowne is a 32 classroom elementary school on 16 acres of court in the Lansdowne neighborhood. As part of the 2017 bond program, We intend to replace that school on site with a 45 classroom baseline elementary school. The project scope includes demolishing the existing school, which was built in 1959 as beyond its usable life. We had slated that school to be open for students in August of 2021. Lansdowne itself is a very difficult site. Constructing a new school while operating the existing one in such a relatively constrained area makes the project difficult. The existing school, as you'd imagine, is already in the ideal spot on the site. So that means that there are some other complications when we're trying to locate the new school on a site, things like water, drainage, detention, water quality, street connectivity. So all of those factors add to time to construct the project and the overall project budget. So the need to address site-specific issues expanded our typical construction period by 2 months to a total of 14 months. That 14-month time frame also excluded the time we would need to demolish the existing Lansdowne Elementary School, which could obviously only occur after we were open and in the new school building. So the best chance to deliver for August of 2021 meant that we were going to decouple the site construction package from the overall construction project and then bid and award those packages separately, which would allow the site progress to begin ahead of the building package. The site package was bid in March, and we had intended to submit that to the Board of Education for approval on 28 April. And the balance of the construction contracts were intended to go before the board in June. Based on the award schedule that we were operating on at the time, the replacement school would then have reached substantial completion. In other words, been turned over to us and eligible for occupancy around the 1st of July next summer. And we would have received final completion somewhere around the 1st of August. That schedule obviously assumed no significant impacts or delays from things like weather, pandemics, or other unforeseen obstacles once we were underway. The risks inherent with that aggressive approach are readily apparent given our current circumstances. And then adding to that risk, we were informed by the city of Charlotte while we were in final permitting that our driveways as shown on our current plans would not be granted a permit. And there were only a couple of paths to resolution: redesigning our driveway connection and potentially aspects of the school to address the city's concerns, or to pursue a zoning variance. Either one would have added time to the already challenged schedule. We evaluated some limited modifications to the design that would have been made in the short term to receive a permit. However, we believe that those quick fixes would cause permanent operational issues for the new school and should be avoided. Also, given budget estimates for the project, we do not have the option to accelerate the project delivery through financial incentives to our contractors. All that said, the options for trying to meet the August 2021 delivery date are essentially unavailable at this point. All the circumstances I've described and others, like the subcontractor market saturation or bid climate, process timing related to things like permitting and inspection, which are potentially unknown variables right now, the complexity and the long construction time for the project, and the need for us to fully evaluate the impacts of those design modifications necessary to satisfy zoning and receive a permit made it incredibly unlikely that the project could be accomplished successfully by 2021. And even if it could be accomplished, we didn't believe that it was the best we could do for the students who will attend the new Lansdowne, because it would have also meant that we would have been demolishing the existing school while they were in session in the new school. So the Lansdowne Elementary School replacement project will be deferred 1 year to open in August of 2022. That delay will allow the project as a whole to be bid by early 2021 and construction to begin in March. This will ensure completion in spring of 2022, which is on a more typical delivery timeline, and will allow us to demolish the old school in the summer to alleviate impacts to the learning environment. As the superintendent noted, over the course of the 2013 and 2017 bond projects, we've had the responsibility of executing on 46 total projects. To date, only 2, Selwyn Elementary School and Davidson K-8, delivered later than planned due to project-specific issues. At Selwyn, for example, the work could only be performed over the summer because there was no real option to swing on site, and the scope and the budget were expanded from the original project. 3 other projects have slipped due to land or programmatic issues. One was Charlotte East, which was delayed by negotiations for the real estate at the former Eastland Mall. Conversely, the additions and renovations at Olympic and South Mecklenburg High Schools in the 2013 bond actually delivered early, and the same will be true for the 2017 projects at Harding High School and Shamrock Gardens Elementary School. Our next steps are to communicate immediately to our design and construction partners and work on a modified schedule for permitting, bidding, and construction. We will also communicate this plan to Mecklenburg County finance staff in a meeting later this week. And I thank you for the opportunity to share this information, disappointing as it may be, and I'd be now happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board members, can you let me know if you have any questions? Ms. Marshall?
Just to clarify, I think I heard that that the construction on the Lansdowne, the actual construction on the building, the new building, will begin in March of 21. Is that correct?
That's our plan right now. Maybe sooner, but that's kind of what we're building into, and we'll know more as we work through the schedule with our construction.
And that means that basically the turnover date to us would be in the late spring, and then the demolition of the existing building in the summer. Is that correct?
That's correct. We typically on an elementary school are receiving that in March or April.
Okay.
And then that allows us to turn over, move in, and do all those sorts of things there. So by starting in March, we expect to have the building in March.
I know there was sort of an overall conversation with the school community. Has this timeline been shared with the school and the neighbors in the Lansdowne area?
I think this was sort of our first attempt, as the superintendent noted, to be transparent and to share our information with the board and the community at large. And then we know we'll have work to do with the Lansdowne community specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Strain?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dennis, you talked about some of the financial incentives that were considered. Can you walk through that in more detail? I think you said that certainly those were explored but weren't available to make up the lost time.
We just didn't think that there was really a path toward using acceleration as an incentive to try and make things go fast. Just given all of the other circumstances and the unknowns, we were afraid that even if we spent the money and we went really, really fast, we could still miss it by a day, and missing it by a day is as bad as missing it by a year. So in full consideration of all of the circumstances and the totality, rather than rushing to fail, we decided that the better tack was to slow down and be successful, albeit at a later date.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. De La Hara?
Yeah, just not a question, but just a quick comment to thank you both, Mr. LaCaria and Superintendent Winston, for providing the clarity around historically, or at least over the past few years, how many schools have slipped for whatever reason. So I just think that's very, very helpful. And I appreciate you giving us and the public that information so that we can take that into context. So thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, then we will move on to the next report, which is an update on student assignment and school choice regarding the Elizabeth Lane relief and Southwest Charlotte relief for elementary schools. I turn to the superintendent for an update on both Elizabeth Lane elementary relief as well as relief for elementary schools in Southwest Charlotte.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I wanted to hand off to Akeisha Craven-Howell, who is our Associate Superintendent for Student Assignment and School Choice, to talk about some upcoming student assignment changes for both the fall of 2021 and the following school year. And one of those does impact the decision, the information that we just previously shared with the board. And so while there are two unrelated matters, we wanted to share that information with board members and our community. Again, two unrelated matters, but one of the schools that she will discuss, Lansdowne, is impacted by the information that we just shared. Ms. Craven-Howell, I will toss it over to you.
we have Ms. Craven Howell?
Yep, I am
Okay.
here. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.